Aussie Footy Rules America with Eddie McGuire on Sirius XM, Dan Patrick Radio Channel 211. And what a pleasure it is to have one of Australia's greatest international stars, Hugh Jackman, join us this morning. Hugh, now this is a bit unusual for you and I. We usually catch up in Melbourne, Australia, but here we are having a chat, me in Melbourne, you in the Hamptons, and talking on American radio. Hello, buddy. How's things?
It's a bit different, but just keeping with how we normally meet, I've got a glass of red wine in my hand. I hope you got the same.
Exactly. Not at this time of the morning. It's a bit early for me, but as you say, it is in the afternoon somewhere in the world, certainly in your part of the world. How is your part of the world going, mate?
It's sort of, things are a lot better in New York than what they were a couple of months ago. There's generally a feeling that things are under control. It was obviously taken very seriously because things just sort of got out of control so quick. But although I've just heard today they're pausing, the reopening phase. We're in phase 2 now. They were going to make it phase 3, I think, next week. And they're just pausing that because of what's happening in the rest of the country. And I think, it's the same in Australia. Like, although it's not the same in Australia, here you can move about freely. You can't do that in Australia. So if something's happening in other parts of the country, it tends to bleed over. And so there's just I think a nervousness and a cautiousness. And at the same time, I can feel people like getting ready to move on. And you imagine it's the middle of summer here, so it's really hard for people to stay indoors.
Well, we've been lucky in Australia as far as the weather's been quite mild for a winter. We're obviously in the depths of winter here, which is not that bad. Been beautiful sunshine, etc., etc. But in Melbourne, it has. There's been a spike, and people are really losing their rag over the whole thing. The other states have basically put the borders up. We've had some postcodes, so zip codes, where they've been completely isolated. So isolated suburbs within the city itself. So it seems to be, as you said, everyone's just having this. It's not a second wave yet. I think it's just a continuation of what was going on. But wow, it's really affecting people, and I think this is where we're going to find the the knock-on effect to the economy, but also people's mental state. I think people are starting to get frazzled.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm on the board. I know our mutual mate Gus Warland. What he does with Gotcha for Life. I've been speaking to him a lot because the calls that he's getting about people's mental health and unfortunately suicide rates and many things like that are really being impacted by this. It's been so difficult for so many people. I mean, our industry, mate, there's 600,000 people in Australia in the entertainment industry.
Yeah.
Or pretty much most out of work. And it's just, and you see that across the board. And I think in some ways this is bringing us closer together. It's certainly for me, I don't know about you, but I'm hearing from mates and I'm calling mates that I haven't spoken to all that often and we're checking in regularly, but you can feel the strain. It's definitely, and I think a lot of that's the unknown. People don't know what's going to happen. They don't know how long it's going to go. Humans are kind of, I think we're sort of wired, for difficult times, but when it's ongoing, things do get really rough. So I encourage you, make sure if you're worrying, just not hold it in. Don't worry alone. Reach out.
Hey, Hugh, let's get on to a bit of sport because this is ostensibly about discussing AFL football. But you mentioned Gus Warland there, your lifetime friend who's a great commentator in Australia on cricket, and he invited you into the commentary box once. So let's just play a little bit of Hugh Jackman, playing a little bit to type, but revolutionising sports commentary.
Here come Waltz. Waltz is coming. No, don't sing it.
Don't sing it, mate. This is not a Broadway show.
Waltz comes in, following a Bancroft. Oh! I think there's a very, very enthusiastic appeal for leg before, not give it.
Any danger of telling anyone that the ball hit him on the pad?
Oh. You're stuffed up when 15 people behind you are completely pissing himself laughing.
Hey, forget Broadway, forget doing the Oscars. If you get into a commentary box at the cricket or the Australian rules football, you're in big trouble if you make one mistake. You know that, don't you? It's a tough crowd.
Mate. Well, no one knows that better than you, but it's so true, man. And I tell you, my whole life, I've thought, what a great job. How good is it? You sit there, watch sport, and go around the world. How hard is it, man? It's really hard.
It's like everything, though. When you're a natural like you are, you make everything look so easy, right? And I we were listening to some of the grabs that you've done over your career, obviously, to put in this interview. And there's one that actually jumped up from the Oscars. The Oscars joke that you did about downsizing at the time because of the global financial crisis at that stage. And it's pretty relevant today. You can actually do what I always do, and that is just go back to old jokes whenever I'm running them, Hugh. Let's have a listen to Hugh doing his opening monologue at the Oscars.
Yeah. As you know, this is my first year as host, but that's not the only thing that is different this year. Everything is being downsized because of the recession. Next year, I'll be starring in a movie called New Zealand.
Hey, it's everything old is new again.
Yeah, it's so true. I got hauled over the coals for that. My New Zealand friend said, mate, you better not come to this country for like a decade. And I said, mate, I remember when the joke was written. The joke that I read was written downgrading. I said, no. I can't say downgrade. Let's just say downsize and I'll be fine. And I wasn't fine.
I thought you got away with it. Hey, if an Australian can't have a crack at a Kiwi and a Kiwi can't have a go to Australia, then we are in big trouble. Hey, mate,
yeah,
let's talk a bit of football, because there's one thing we know in Australian rules football is that once you have your team, you have it for life. In most cases, that is. Now, let's be honest, you're from Sydney, and rugby league is your first passion. You're a Manly man, aren't you?
Yep, Seagulls.
Oh, sorry, just dropped out. Let me ask you that again.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm a Manly man, Seagulls supporter.
And we are a Manly man, and you're a real Manly man, actually. But you then went to WAPA, the West Australian Performing Arts Academy there, where you did your apprenticeship. And you fell into AFL football over there. So then you became a West Coast Eagles supporter, that's fair enough. Now, I've also got photos of you with a North Melbourne jumper. I've got photos with you with Port Adelaide signing up. Is there a team that you haven't sort of joined at once? Well, there is one team. I know, my team, Collingwood, but I won't take that personally. But at some stage, you're going to have to get a hold of yourself and become a member of a particular side. Is there someone that's grabbed you?
It's now the Sydney Swans, and I know every Melbourneite is going to hate me for that alone. But the fact I've jumped from team to team, you missed one in there. I remember one year, my first year in Melbourne, I met Stan Alves, and he was coaching St Kilda at the time, and he invited me to a game, and so for about 5 weeks I was a St Kilda supporter, and then I was
5 weeks longer than they deserved.
But I remember learning one thing from Nathan Buckley. I did a Boxing Day cricket test, like at the tea break. They had about 5 of us go out and hit a golf ball on the G, right? My golf shot was so bad, I almost took off Tony Gregg's head. But I remember walking out there with Nathan Buckley, who was he was still playing, right, for you guys, I think, or nearly retired. This is Boxing Day. And he gets introduced and was booed by the entire crowd. And I'm like, and I turned to him, I said, dude, that's got to annoy you. Like, here you are, like, in your summer break, coming out to do a good thing, a bit of a charity, have a hit of a golf ball. And he goes, mate, when you sign up for Collingwood, you sign up for 16/17 of the world hating your guts. You know that well, Eddie, right?
I very much know that well. Boy, do I live that every day of my life.
Yeah, mate. But I honestly, I love AFL, even though I've kind of moved around teams, but I'm definitely a Sydney Swans supporter now. But when I didn't really follow it at all until Plugger came. The Plugger sort of post Kappa. Were they around the same time? Or
it's just they sort of just overlapped. So Kappa went to Brisbane and then Plugger came to Sydney.
Yeah, so when Plugger came to Sydney, I remember that was when people started going, okay, we're into this now. The majority anyway, so because it was rugby league or union before that. And then when I went to Perth, I was there 92 to 94 and they won in 92 and 94. And so literally you couldn't open up the back 15 pages of the newspaper without reading about the West Coast Eagles and watching on TV. And I just loved the game. To me, live, it's my favorite, definitely winter sport, my favorite winter sport by far.
As an athlete, and you are an athlete, actor and performer, you've got magnificent physical conditioning and you train so hard. When you look at the AFL footballers, it is an athletic pursuit where you have to have the strength, but you have to have the endurance, you have to have the speed. Do you take any of the training techniques from AFL football? Because in many ways, you've got the perfect physique of an AFL footballer. You're tall, big shoulders, strong body, and with endurance as well as speed.
Yeah, if only I could kick the ball. That'd be good.
Apart from that. I only lack two things as well, courage and ability, but otherwise I would have been a superstar.
Yeah, no, it's mate. I kind of do, because what I have to do is, it's one thing you got to look like, if you're playing Wolverine, you got to look the part, but you still have to be able to be functional and do all the fight scenes and things like that without getting injured. So I was always doing sort of functional training, which I used to actually call, this was like footy training, but I did actually someone invited me when I was first in Melbourne to go and play a game. And it wasn't a game, it was like a training session where they played like an hour's game at the end.
Yeah.
I had no idea how hard it was. I really didn't. How hard, and it's just how much skill it takes. Plus, also, I remember about 5 minutes into the game, someone took me out from behind with a shoulder charge, and my first instinct was to get up and deck the guy. And my own teammates had to hold me back, say, "No, that's allowed." I'm like, "You're not allowed to do that." Yeah. So it's one of the toughest games, and I always say to people will talk about Tom Brady landing a pass 50 yards to someone running full pelt, and I'm like, that's nothing. Ask Tom Brady to kick the ball and land it on the guy's chest, you know?
Yeah. There's unique skills in it we do take for granted, no doubt about it. Hey, Hugh, you've been very generous with your time as always, mate. Do you think there's a chance that our game could take off in America? I mean, it's a very full market for sports, but I think that what you just said there, the athleticism and the violence, and I say that in a tempered form, could actually do something in America, and also rugby league, because your great mate Russell Crowe, of course, with the Sydney Rabbitohs, South Sydney Rabbitohs. Could you see some Australian sports actually taking off in the States?
Oh, for sure. I can definitely see like a 2020. I could see that cricket taking off. I think rugby's probably too similar to football.
Yeah.
You know, but AFL, what I think is great about AFL is it takes, like, particularly in younger grades, you don't have to be huge. Like, if you're fast and have good skills, you can be the Wayne Gretzky of AFL and you can really get by. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And also, I think it's pretty beautiful to watch, and there's just less head injuries, or the perception is less head injuries. And I think it's a big problem for the NFL. I think a lot of mums and dads don't necessarily want their kids sort of signing up for that. So I think something like AFL could be a great option.
Hey, Hugh, we'll let you go, mate. Stay safe. Send our love to Deb and to the family, to the kids. Mate, you're always so generous with your time, mate. You're so generous. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for not mentioning I was 30 minutes late for the interview. Sorry, dude.
That's all right, mate.
Sorry,
if I'm going to be stood up by anybody, I'm happy to be stood up by you, mate.
Okay.
So